In this video, I'll teach you how to make a simple item collection with all the features demonstrated on screen right now. The items will respawn after a while, and you can collect them as many times as you want. Start off by getting an item that you're going to collect. In my case, it's going to be a log. For you, it can be anything. Now, make sure you have your Explorer, Properties, and Output tab. These will be necessary for what we're about to do. The next step is to choose from a click detector or a proximity prompt. I'm going to start off by showing the proximity prompt, but later I'll show the click detector. Insert the proximity prompt so it's the child of the part you want to collect. Click on the proximity prompt, and then there should be this properties menu. In here, change some settings. I'm going to change the action text to be collect and the object text to be log. Once you're okay with all these settings, you can go ahead and insert a script into here. We can rename this to collect script. Before we start coding, let's go into replicate storage and add in a bindable event. And then let's rename this bindable event to say item 1. Let's start off by creating a variable. So we're going to type in local item 1 is going to be equal to game.replicatedStorage.item1. Let's create 2 dashes so now we can make a note. And inside of here we can do item 1 is the bindable event that is attached to this variable. So our note is that item 1 is the bindable event that is attached to this variable. Now we have to check when our proximity prompt gets triggered. So we can go drop a few lines. We can drop as many lines as we want. It doesn't matter. In here we're going to go script.parent.proximityPrompt.triggered connect function, and then now in these 2 brackets we're going to write in a variable for what triggered this proximity prompt, and the thing that triggered it is the player. Now at the end, once we're at the end of this, we can press enter, and then it should automatically add an end in here. Next what we have to do is we have to send a signal to this bindable event, and the way we send a signal is by going item 1 fire. So pretty much we are firing this bindable event, and item 1 is our variable up here. Once again, we can drop as many lines as you want, although I'm only going to drop 1 just so it looks neater. Or actually, I'm going to drop 2 lines. Now that our item has been collected, we have to make sure that we can't collect it again. And the way we can do that is by disabling the proximity prompt. So we can go script.parent.proximityPrompt.enabled equals false. What this does is we just set the enabled property of the proximity prompt to false. And if the enabled property is set to false, then it just won't work. Next, we want to make sure that our part is invisible. So what we can do is we can go script.parent.transparency is equal to 1. If we go into our world space, I'll demonstrate kind of how transparency works. So here's our transparency property. The higher the transparency property, the more transparent the object is. And the lower the transparency property is, the more opaque the object is. Let's drop one more line, and we have one more thing to add for this part to be fully uninteractable, and that is we have to make sure that the player cannot collide with it. So we can go script.parent.canCollide is equal to false. What I've just done is setting the canCollide property to false so the player cannot collide with it. After setting it to canCollide, you want to make sure that this part is anchored, or else it won't collide with anything and it'll just fall through the world. To do this, go into your properties menu and press now part is anchored, and it won't move around or fall under the map. Now what we have to do is we have to make sure that that part comes back, although we don't want it to come back instantly after we press the prompt, or else this part will be completely useless. So instead, let's go wait 10, or however long you want to wait. Remember, this number is in seconds. So if we were to do 10 seconds, it would wait exactly 10 seconds each time. Although I think it's more interesting if we randomize it. For example, we can go wait math.random. Then inside of these brackets, inside of this math.random thing, what we can do is we can do 1 and then 5. Now it will choose a random number between 1 and 5, and it will wait that long. What we have to do is we have to reverse what we've done up here. And this will be very simple since we can actually just copy this part up here and we can just paste it down below. Now we're not done yet because we have to set enabled to be true because we are making sure that our proximity prompt is enabled and it will show. And then we have set our transparent to be 0 because like I said, the higher the transparency, the more transparent the object is. And then over here we can just make it opposite, which is true. This should be everything that you need for our thing to disappear and reappear. So let's go ahead and test out our game. Let's collect our log. And there we go. It pops right back in, and we can do this an infinite amount of times. Now if you're seeing any red things in your output, that's an error, so go rewind the video and fix that error. Since the proximity prompt script is finished, I'm going to teach you how to do the click detector script. Let's start off by adding a click detector into your part that you want to collect. Inside your click detector is all the settings that you want to change. The only thing I want to change is the max activation distance. Set it to 10 just like our proximity prompt I did previously. Cursor icon is a bit more complicated, and you could probably find a video on how to set a custom cursor icon. Let's click on our part over here, and let's insert a script. Inside this, let's rename this script to collect script. Before we start coding, go into your replicate storage and insert a bindable event. And we can rename this bindable event to be item 1. There we go. The first that we're going to write is going to be a variable, and we can do that by typing in local and then item 1, and then that's going to be equal to game.replicate_storage.item1. What a variable is that it's pretty much a word that stores this entire line of code over here. So we don't have to write this out all the time, but we can rather just write out item 1. Let's create a little note by pressing the dash button twice, and let's write down item 1 is the bindable event that is attached to this variable. And this is just a little note for you to know what item 1 is. And item 1 is the bindable event, which is this, and is attached to this variable. And then we can drop a line. We can drop as many lines as we want to the next one, but I only want to drop 1 or 2 lines actually, just for neatness. Now we have to figure out when the player clicks the part. To do that, we're going to go script.parent.clickDetector.mouseClick::connect function. Then in these two brackets, we are going to figure out what clicked the mouse detector, and what clicked it is the player. And then we just go outside of these two brackets and we press enter. Now we have to send a signal to this bindable event. Let's start off by typing in item 1 and then fire. And that's all you have to do, since remember, we have a variable over here which stores this line of code, so we don't have to do it later on. Now I'm going to drop 2 lines just to make everything look neater, and we have to make sure that our log disappears when we click it. And now we have to code it such that the part disappears when we click it. So let's start off by doing script.parent.clickDetector.max activation distance is equal to 0. Now the reason we have to set the max activation distance to 0 is because this one doesn't have an enabled property or a disabled property. Let's drop another line, and let's go script.parent.transparency is going to be equal to 1. Now if we go over to our log, and I go to the transparency property, you can see the higher the transparency number, the more transparent the object is, and the lower the transparency number is, the more opaque the object is. Let's drop another line and go script.parent.canCollide equals false. What we are doing here is we are just making sure that we can't collide with this object anymore. Now go into your properties menu and look for the anchored property. If your box is not checked, make sure to check that, or else our part will just fall through the map when we press it. The reason we want to make sure our player can't collide with the object is so that it appears as nothing's there, or else we will be climbing over an invisible thing, which is just weird. Now what we have to do is we have to make our object come back in the game, although we don't want that to happen instantly, so let's drop down 2 lines and put in a wait. I put in wait 10, although this will be kind of weird since it will be exactly 10 seconds each time. So a better way to do this would be to do wait, and then inside of the wait we'll do math.random, and inside the math.random brackets we can go 1 and then 5. This will pick a random number between 1 and 5. Let's drop a line down and paste it. As you can see, I pasted it correctly, so you can just go in front of the line and do that. And there we go, we skipped a line. and you can always just delete lines. Even though our max activation is set to 10, if we were to ever change this, it would go back to 10, right? And we want it to be whatever this is. An easy way to do that is to create another variable up here. So let's drop line down and let's go back up. We'll go local default detect is going to be equal to script dot parent dot click detector dot max activation distance. The second the script is loaded, these two things will fire, right? Since they're not under any function. So this will be whatever this is originally. It's kind of confusing, but you'll eventually understand it the more you practice. So let's just go default detect, and that will set it to whatever this is originally when you join the game. And now we just have to set that to 0, and we set this to true. And now we can go ahead and play here. As you see, I clicked it, and now if we wait around 1 to 5 seconds, it pops up. And there we go, we have our two different logs. Now that you're done either doing a proximity prompt or click detector, or both if you really wanted to, we can move on to our next step, and that is to add in a leaderstats script. So inside of our server script service, you're just going to want to insert a leaderstats script, or if you already have one, you're going to want to follow what I do. If you don't have a leaderstats set up, you can go in the description and copy and paste it. Although this is pretty much all set up for you except for your resource name. In here, you can call this whatever. Although I'm going to call it wood. Now make sure you remember this name. This name is going to be very important. And over here is how much you want the player to start off with this specific resource. If you want 99, then that's how much you'll start off with. But in my case, I'm going to set to 0. If you already have a leaderstats script that maybe has money or some other sort of resource in it, what you can do is just go right under where it says a new Instance.new folder. So right after you get this main thing or this main code chunk, just drop a few lines under it and paste that in. And this will work perfectly fine. If you have something different and you're too scared to tamper with it, you can always join the Discord and I will help you fix that. If you don't have a leaderstats script already, just rename your thing that you just added to leaderstats. And we can close out of your leaderstats script now. If you're going to have multiple resources in your game, I recommend creating a folder inside a server script service to store all your resources. Now let's rename your folder to resources. Inside of this folder, we can add a script. Inside of our resources script, let's go ahead and do item 1. This folder can pretty much be named to whatever you want. Inside of ours item 1 script, let's go ahead and do game.replicate_event.event::connect and function. And now we have to receive where our event's coming from. Our event's coming from our player, which actually, make sure to go back into your collection script or your proximity prompt script and put player in here, or else we won't be able to get the player in here. Now we just really need one line, and that is player.leaderstats.item1.value equals 10. Well, actually, we don't want item 1, we want wood. Okay, let's create a little note here and type in wood is the name of the item you are receiving, which is found in your leaderstats script. Okay, so what is the name of the item you are receiving, which is found in your leaderstats script? And now, as you can see, our resource name is wood. Actually, I'm going to change this to resource. If you see any red errors down here, then go rewind the video and see what you did wrong. Anyways, let's go ahead and test out our proximity prompt. It works, we get our 10 wood. And let's go ahead and test out our click detector. We got our wood, it works. Now let's create an animation for when we pick up our item. Let's go ahead, press rig builder, and select block avatar. And now let's click our animation editor and select the block avatar. And let's rename this to pickup animation. And press create. Animating is pretty simple. First, let's press this IK button and enable IK. This will make animating a lot more smoother. Then let's move your timeline to where you want your first frame to be. I think my first frame should be right around there. You can just use the rotate movements to rotate your character however you like. Now you can press play and see what your animation currently looks like. Now go to where your next keyframe. Next, make sure to select this white keyframe at the top and copy selected. And then paste it to where your timeline is. As you can see, nothing happens. But now let's create our next animation, which will be for our character to kind of swing his hand around. And now we just want the animation to end. To make the animation end, just copy your first keyframe and put it at the end of your animation. And there we go, we have the simple pickup animation. Now that our animation is created, click on these three dots and publish it to Roblox. We can do pickup animation. Now make sure that this creator is set to you or whoever the project is made by. If you're making this project in a group, make sure to set the group that you are affiliated with. Since this is my private project, I can just select me. If you don't select the proper creator, then when you publish your game, the animation won't play. It's kind of like an anti-piracy system that is kind of bad. And then we can just press submit. Now we can press this copy button over here and ID copied. If you lose this ID, you can always just click on this and it will take you to the Roblox page where your animation is. Close out of this, and we can also close out of our animator. Now with your copied ID, let's go into replicated storage and add in an animation. And inside of your properties, where animation ID is, paste in your ID and press enter. Open up your item1 script so we can code our animation. Now let's create a variable. I'm going to go local animation is going to be equal to game.replicate wait for child and our animation. Let's drop a line in here and go up. And let's go local character is going to be equal to player.character. Player.character. And now you should see that it's not autofill, and that's because the game doesn't know what player is yet. So us, the coder, has to pretty much just tell the script what player is going to be, because we know what player is going to be, but the code doesn't. And now we're just going to get our humanoid. So local humanoid is going to be equal to our character find first child and two brackets at the end, and inside of these quotation marks we're going to go humanoid, just like that. If character humanoid, then animation is going to be equal to humanoid load animation, and we are loading our animation. Whoops, we didn't actually want to put that animation is equal to. We just want to put in humanoid load animation and then our animation, and then at the end we'll just go play and then two brackets. And here we have it. This should animate our player. Let's go ahead and test it out. Here I am by this log, and if I collect it, as you can see, this animation plays, and it works for both of them. Let's say you want another item in your game. To do that, you're just going to want to go ahead, copy your proximity prompt or your click detector and your collection script. We're going to copy that. We're going to select this rock, right click, and paste into. We want to copy our bindable event, so we can actually just press duplicate, and we can rename this to item number 2. So item 2. And then inside of here, we can go ahead, item 2, and then down our resources, we're going to go duplicate. We can go rename. We can rename this script to item 2. Inside the script, we can go ahead and go item 2 dot event. So this will get our second item's function or our second item's signal. And over here, we just want to change up what this is. So inside of our leader stats, you can copy and paste your whatever you had. So whatever your first resource is, you can copy that and paste it just underneath it. And I'm going to set this one to be stone. Configure all your settings the way you want to be. And then over here, write down exactly what you put down for your second resource name. And now if we go ahead and hit play, everything should work perfectly fine. We collect it, and as you can see, we get our 10 stone, and it should eventually come back. And everything. Now we just want to repeat that process for every new item you want to add into the game. Except instead of renaming it to item 2, you're going to want to rename it to item 3, then item 4, then item 5, then item 6, then item 7. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you need more help, join the Discord. And I'm going to be doing polls in my community tab, so you can vote on what tutorial you want to see next. And this was the one that won the last poll, so this is the one I made. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.